ขอสวัสดีท่านผู้ร่วมงานทุกท่านนะคะท่านอธิการบอกว่าสมควรกับเวลาที่จะเริ่มงานได้แล้วนะคะขอเชิญท่านผู้ร่วมงานทุกท่านนั่งประจำที่ได้เลยนะคะเนื่องจากงานในวันนี้เรามีวิทยากรมาจากต่างประเทศนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นก็จะขอเริ่มพิธีการทุกอย่างเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะคะ Honorable the President, the Administrator, the Dean, and Faculty of Srinakarin Virod University, and also the member from Thai General Education Network, and all participants and guests, and also our keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, สวัสดีตอนเช้าสำหรับทุกท่านนะคะ First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Thanita Lerthorn Kunrat. I'm from the Innovative Learning Center, Srinakarin Virod University. Today is my pleasure to be the MC for today's seminar on the Innovative Learning Center, Innovative Learning in the 21st century. And on behalf of the organizer, I would like to welcome everybody to today's seminar. Today, actually, we have about 80 participants, but maybe it's because of the traffic. That's why there are still people are coming. And the participants are from the Srinakarin Virod University, the administrator, the dean, and the faculty member, and also the staff, and from the member of Thai General Education Network. And it's our great pleasure and honor today to have Associate Professor Dr. Ravinder Koul from the Pennsylvania State University, USA, to be our keynote speaker. And I would like to introduce him more in the detail before he starts his presentation. And now I would like to inform you the schedule for today. During the morning and afternoon session, we will learn about general education program at Penn State University and research and curricular perspective on general education for 21st century. And we will have a break during the morning and afternoon session. We also organize lunch for all participants. So welcome everybody again. And now I think it's reasonable times. It's my pleasure to ask the Director of Innovative Learning Center to deliver us the purpose and describe about the Innovative Learning Center and the purpose of today's seminar. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Professor สมใจสิริโภค
Honorable the President of Srinakarin Virod University, as the Director of Innovative Learning Center, I would like to thank you for coming today to be the President of this seminar on the topic of the innovative learning in 21st century. The Innovative Learning Center was established in 2010. The center has a major role in management of teaching and developing GE courses for undergraduate students at Srinakarin Virod University, with the participation of all faculties. In each semester, there are more than 12,000 students enrolled in the GE courses. To ensure the quality of teaching and learning of GE for those who attend courses at Srinakarin Virod University, we believe that a deeper understanding of curriculum and research perspectives on GE and continuously staff development to increase their teaching expertise are very important. Therefore, this conference was arranged in order to provide the ILC staff and the participants, especially Thai GE network staff, with the curriculum and research perspectives on GE for the 21st century, a case study of GE reform at the Pennsylvania State University and the innovative instructional strategies for DE. Upon this time, I would like to invite the President of Sinakrin Milot University, Assistant Professor Dr. Chlem Chai Bunya Lipan, to deliver an opening remark. Thank you.
Honorable keynote speaker, Associate Professor Ravinder Koul from Pennsylvania State University, Director, Dean, faculty, and colleagues. I would like to give the speech in Thai, and someone will help you to translate more understand, because I would like to give some hint about the 21st century skill for the Thai student or the Thai young generation, and it most useful if I make a speech in Thai for the depth in the understanding for the audience. So apologize that I will give in Thai. Okay. ผมอยากพูดเป็นไทยนิดหนึ่งเพราะว่าผมอยากจะเดี๋ยวคงจะฟังเขาเนี่ยในเรื่อง 21st century skill ว่าในมุมมองของทางเวสเทิร์นเนี่ยเป็นยังไงโดยเฉพาะในสหรัฐอเมริกานะครับคนที่มีโอกาสติดตามเรื่องนี้โดยเฉพาะได้อ่านหนังสือเล่มนี้เนี่ยก็คงจะเข้าใจในระดับหนึ่งผมซักเจสให้อ่านอีกอันหนึ่งซึ่งก็จะง่ายขึ้นสำหรับคนที่ไม่เคยอ่านนะครับก็คือเข้าไปอ่านในบล็อก blog บล็อก go to know นะครับบล็อก go to know เนี่ยจะมีท่านนายกสภามหาวิทยาลัยมหิดลท่านศาสตราจารย์นายแพทย์วิจารณ์พานิชเขียนเรื่องทักษะของศตวรรษที่ 21 นะฮะหรือ 21st century skill เนี่ยไว้ค่อนข้างดีคำว่าดีคือหมายความว่าได้มีการ apply และประยุกต์นะครับใช้ text หรือหนังสือเล่มนั้นเข้าสู่บริบทของประเทศไทยเพราะฉะนั้นผมจะพูดตรงนี้สักนิดหนึ่งแล้วหลังจากนั้นเนี่ยผมคิดว่าผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านเนี่ยก็จะได้ประโยชน์มากทีเดียวในการที่จะฟังจากทางด้านบทเรียนของทางตะวันตกโดยเฉพาะสหรัฐอเมริกาท่านทราบไหมครับว่าทำไมสหรัฐอเมริกาถึงลุกขึ้นมาทำเรื่องนี้เขาเกิดปัญหาที่ยิ่งใหญ่มากก็คือตั้งแต่ปี 1970 การศึกษาของสหรัฐอเมริกาแย่ลงครับคุณภาพหรือ quality ของ education system ในสหรัฐอเมริกาเนี่ยแย่ลงอย่าง significant ซึ่งเราคงจะแปลกใจเพราะว่าเราไปเรียนกันในสหรัฐเนี่ยหลายคนเราเนี่ยไปเรียนในที่ selective good quality แต่ in general average หลังจากปี 1970 การศึกษาโดยเฉพาะการศึกษาขั้นพื้นฐานที่ไม่ใช่มหาวิทยาลัยนะในสหรัฐอเมริกาเนี่ยแย่ลงอย่างมากครับเราจะเห็นจาก UNDP นะครับจะเห็นจากของ Pearson และ Economist ในปี 2014 การแรง10 อันดับแรกของคุณภาพการศึกษาไม่มีประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกาอยู่ไม่มีนะครับทำให้เราดีใจเพราะเราอยู่ในระดับเดียวกับสหรัฐคือเราไม่ติดท็อป 10 ด้วยกัน เหมือนตอนที่ฟุตบอลโลกเขาพูดถึงว่าอังกฤษเขาตั้งเป้าหมายว่าเขาจะทำให้ได้ผลงานในครั้งนี้ดีเท่ากับแชมป์เก่าคือสเปนแล้วก็ทำได้คือตกรอบด้วยกันรอบแรกนะฮะคือทั้งอังกฤษและสเปนเนี่ยตกรอบแรกด้วยกันคู่ปัญหาใหญ่ของสหรัฐอเมริกานะครับที่แย่ลงเนี่ยเขาไม่ทราบหลายท่านได้เคยเห็นภาพยนตร์สารคดีเรื่องวิกฤตการศึกษาสหรัฐที่ออกไทย PBS 2 ชั่วโมงไหมครับนั่นแหละครับนั่นเรื่องจริงเลยครับแล้วลูกสาวผมอยู่ในเหตุการณ์นั้นด้วยก็คือหมายความว่าหลังจากที่เกิดสมาพันธ์ครูขึ้นสมาพันธ์ครูก็เหมือนสหภาพแรงงานสามารถต่อรองกับโรงเรียนและรัฐบาลว่าถ้าทำงานผ่านการประเมิน2 ปีจะได้อยู่จนเกษียณอายุทุกคนเหตุเพราะในสมัยก่อนครูในสหรัฐอเมริกาไม่มีใครการันตีว่าจะได้อยู่จนเกษียณต้องเป็นสัญญาเป็นคอนแทรคแล้วทำให้คุณภาพของครูดีอย่างมากพร้อมๆกับความรู้สึก risky เล็กน้อยของครูทั่วประเทศก็เลยเกิดการรวมตัวของครูที่จะสร้างความมั่นคงในอาชีพการงานมาจากความคิดของครูซึ่ง performance ดีแล้วก็นิสัยดีเดี๋ยวดูท่านดูตอนจบนะครับว่าเกิดอะไรขึ้นนะครับพอครูซึ่ง security ไม่ค่อยดีแต่ทุ่มเททำงานเพื่อนักเรียนรัฐก็เลยอยากจะสนับสนุนให้มีความมั่นคงในอาชีพสุดท้ายสมาพันธ์ครูของสหรัฐก็ทำสำเร็จหมายความว่าครูที่ผ่านการประเมินการสอนผมจำตัวเลขไม่ได้ a couple years ก็คือ 2-3 ปี สามารถอยู่จนเกษียณอายุไม่สามารถเอาออกได้หลังจากนั้นสถานการณ์ก็เปลี่ยนทันทีครับไม่น่าเชื่อนะครับครูที่กลายเป็นเทนนัวสอนหนังสือแย่ลงเอาใจใส่ครูเอาใจใส่นักเรียนลดลงทันทีเขาทำในรายงานสารคดีเรื่องนี้เนี่ยไปถึงขนาดเป็นดราม่าเลยนะครับว่าครูกำลังยืนสอนเด็กหน้าชั้นอย่างเข้มข้นเลยนะแล้วก็มีคนเอาจดหมายมาส่งว่าครูได้รับเทนนัวในระหว่างที่กำลังยืนอยู่หน้าคลาสรูมเป็นดราม่านะครับครูก็เลยบอกนักเรียนว่าวันนี้ครูมีข่าวดีของตัวเองและเป็นข่าวร้ายของพวกเธออะไรเงี้ยนะก็คือครูได้อยู่ถาวรแล้วเพราะฉะนั้นพวกเธอจะทำอะไรก็ทำตรงครูไม่สอนแล้วนะครูจะนั่งเฉยๆคือไม่ใช่เรื่องจริงนะครับแต่หมายความว่าเขาทำให้รู้สึกว่าวิธีคิดเนี่ยเปลี่ยนแล้วก็ในระยะ44 ปีที่ผ่านมาจาก1970การล่มสลายของกรุงโรมแบบช้าๆของวงการศึกษาสหรัฐอเมริกาก็เกิดขึ้นมีคนตะวันออกคนหนึ่งชื่อคุณลีเขาเข้าไปในวอชิงตันดีซีแล้วได้รับการปฏิรูปให้เป็นหัวหน้าใหญ่ทางด้านการปฏิรูปปรากฏว่าเขาก็เปลี่ยนไม่สำเร็จเพราะว่าครูไม่ยอมทำตามและครูที่ไม่ทำตามก็ไม่เป็นไรเพราะไล่เขาออกไม่ได้นะครับผมพักไว้ตรงนั้นก่อนปัญหาของสหรัฐอเมริกาในการศึกษาพื้นฐานเนี่ยเกิดขึ้นในลักษณะแบบนี้จนกระทั่งเขาพบว่าการจัดการเรียนการสอนของคนอเมริกันเยอะมากเลยที่ไม่เข้ามหาวิทยาลัยการเข้ามหาวิทยาลัยนี้เป็นเรื่องแบบเป็นลักชัวรี่นะครับของคนอเมริกันโดยเฉพาะคนผิวสีนอกจากนั้นคนที่เข้ามหาวิทยาลัยได้แล้วยังมี drop out rate ที่สูงมากอันเนี้ยคนไทยจะไม่คุ้นเคยคือคนไทยเนี่ยเมื่อเข้ามหาวิทยาลัย100 คนเนี่ยจบทุกมหาวิทยาลัยไปดูได้นะจบกว่า 90% อเมริกันบางมหาวิทยาลัยเนี่ยคนจบ 40%บางมหาวิทยาลัยจบ 60-70% นั้นดัชนีชี้วัดตัวหนึ่งของมหาวิทยาลัยในสหรัฐที่ถือว่าระบบดีหรือไม่ก็คือ drop out rate ต้องต่ำแต่ท่านเห็นไหมครับว่า drop out rate ของเมืองไทยไม่เคยเป็นดัชนีชี้วัดเพราะพวกเรา drop out rate ต่ำมากคือคนทุกคนเมื่อเข้ามหาวิทยาลัยทุกคนก็จะจบหมดก็เลยมีคนมาดูว่าคนที่จบไฮสคูลของสหรัฐคนที่จบมหาวิทยาลัยของสหรัฐไม่สามารถ competitive กับ global society ได้ซึ่งเราคงตกใจทีเดียวเราลองฟังเขาคงเล่าให้ฟังว่าเขาเชื่องั้นจริงๆก็คือ knowledge ที่มีไม่อัปเดตพอมาจากครูที่ไม่อัปเดต skill ไม่พอเพราะไม่มีการฝึกสกิลจริงที่สำคัญสกิลที่ฝึกไม่ใช่สกิลที่เป็นทักษะเพื่อชีวิตแต่เป็นทักษะตามที่ครูเชื่อว่าจะทำให้เด็กอยู่ในสังคมได้เดี๋ยวก็จะพูดถึงเรื่องทักษะในลักษณะต่างๆของ 21st century skill นะครับผมคิดว่าภาษาไทยเราที่ใช้เนี่ยเดี๋ยวจะไปตรงกับภาษาอังกฤษเกือบหมดแต่ผมอยากจะทิ้งคำไว้ก่อนจะจบเพราะว่าผมต้องขออภัยเดี๋ยวจะต้องไปเพราะว่าจะต้องไปเปิดงานของบุคลากรใหม่ของเรา250 คนแล้วผมก็จะต้องพูดให้บุคลากรเนี่ยทำงานให้มสวเนี่ยรับใช้สังคมแล้วก็เป็นประโยชน์กับสังคมต่อไปนะครับมันมีชุดคำอยู่3 คำซึ่งสุดท้ายแล้วความหมายเดียวกันนะครับถ้าพวกเราจะได้เอาอันนี้ไปไตร่ตรองแล้วก็ลองดูซิว่ามันจะสอดคล้องกับ 21st century skill มากน้อยแค่ไหนนะครับชุดคำที่1นะครับก็คือเราต้องการผลิตเด็กและเยาวชนคนรุ่นใหม่ให้เป็นคนดีให้เป็นคนเก่งและให้เป็นคนที่มีความสุขชุดคำที่2นะครับเราก็จะผลิตเด็กให้ออกไปเป็นคนที่มี positive attitude ให้มี excellent skill และให้มี knowledge กับ wisdom ที่ดีชุดคำที่3เป็นคำโบราณนะครับก็คือพุทธิศึกษาจริยศึกษาหัตถศึกษาและพละศึกษาทั้ง3ชุดคำนี้ความหมายจะสอดรับกันหมดเป็นแมทริกซ์เดียวกันนะครับลองดูนะครับการที่เราจะทำให้เด็กเป็นคนดีได้เนี่ยเขาต้องมี attitude ที่ดีก็คือเรื่องจริยศึกษาเขาจะเป็นคนเก่งได้เขาต้องมี knowledge และ wisdom ที่ดีคือเขาต้องมีพุทธิศึกษาและเขาจะมีความสุขได้เขาต้องมีทักษะในการใช้ชีวิตเพราะฉะนั้นเขาต้องมีสกิลที่ดีเขาจึงต้องมีหัตถศึกษาแล้วก็พละศึกษาพละศึกษาเป็นการฝึกสกิลทางด้านรู้แพ้รู้ชนะการให้อภัยเพราะฉะนั้น ไม่ว่ายุคใดสมัยใดใน education system ของประเทศไทยตั้งแต่คำโบราณของชุดผู้ที่ศึกษาจนกระทั่งมาถึงคำภาษาไทยง่ายๆคำว่าเป็นคนดีคนเก่งแล้วก็มีความสุขจนกระทั่งมาถึงภาษาอังกฤษที่ถอดกันซึ่งกันและกันเลยก็คือ attitude skill แล้วก็ knowledge จึงเป็นเรื่องเดียวกันทั้งหมดผมก็อยากจะให้การฟังในวันนี้เรา broaden คือขยายเพิ่มจากคำว่า skill เนี่ยไปหา knowledge แล้วก็ไปหาเรื่อง attitude ด้วย skill เหล่านี้จะเป็น knowledge และ attitude ได้ถ้ามันเป็น life skill หรือ survival skill ก็คือหมายว่าเป็นทักษะเพื่อความเป็น human หรือมนุษย์เป็นทักษะของการดำรงชีวิตถ้า skill เป็นอย่างนี้นะครับจำเป็นที่จะต้องครอบคลุม attitude และจำเป็นที่จะต้องครอบคลุม knowledge และถ้า knowledge นั้นจะลึกไปถึงขั้นเป็น wisdom ได้คือจากวิชาเป็นวิชาชอช้าง2ตัวมสวเราเนี่ยภูมิใจนะครับเราตั้งชื่อวิทยาลัยของเราเนี่ยเป็นแห่งแรกในประเทศไทยที่ใช้คำว่า wisdom ก็คือโพธิวิชาลัยเราไม่ได้ใช้คำว่าโพธิวิทยาลัยวิชาลัยชอช้าง2ตัวของเราเนี่ยความหมายคือ wisdom ซึ่งมันลุ่มลึกนะครับแล้วก็มีความสำคัญมากกว่าวิชาชอช้างตัวเดียวที่เท่ากับ knowledge นะครับก็เสียดายว่าเวลามีน้อยไปนิดหนึ่งแล้วก็จริงๆก็ดีแล้วที่เวลาน้อยเพราะว่าถ้าให้เวลาเยอะเดี๋ยวผมก็จะไปบรรยายของ Penn State เขาทั้งหมดนะครับก็ให้เขาได้มีโอกาสบรรยายกันแล้วกันนะครับในโอกาสนี้ก็ต้องขอบคุณทางสำนักนวัตกรรมการเรียนรู้นะครับโดยเฉพาะท่านผอ.สมใจแล้วก็ทีมงานที่ได้กรุณาจัดงานครั้งนี้ขึ้นผมเชื่อว่างานครั้งนี้คงจะไม่ใช่เป็นครั้งสุดท้ายคงจะมีการดำเนินการต่อเนื่องเป็นซีรีส์ต่อไปแล้วก็วันนี้ทุกคนคงจะทราบนะครับว่าเรากำลังพูดถึงเรื่องปฏิรูปการศึกษาอย่างมากและผมเองก็โชคดีที่ได้รับการแต่งตั้งเข้าไปเป็นที่ปรึกษาของคสช.ในเรื่องของการปฏิรูปการศึกษาและสาธารณสุขคิดว่าประเด็นต่างๆเนี่ยก็จะเป็นช่วงเวลาของ12เดือนข้างหน้าที่เราอาจจะมีโอกาสมี chance ที่อาจจะสร้าง foundation หรือ infrastructure ของประเทศไทยขึ้นใหม่ส่วนจะสำเร็จหรือไม่เนี่ยคงไม่ได้ขึ้นอยู่กับคสช.คงขึ้นอยู่กับพวกเราทุกคนนะครับก็ขออนุญาตการเปิดงานนะครับแล้วก็ยินดีต้อนรับผู้ที่เข้าร่วมประชุมสัมมนาทุกครั้งและทุกคนอีกครั้งหนึ่งนะครับขอบคุณครับ
Thank you, our President. And now may I invite the President to welcome our keynote speaker by giving the flower. Please proceed onto the stage.
แต่ไม่มีใครมอบดอกไม้ให้ผมใช่ไหม
It's a welcome flower from Srinakharin Virod University.
Flower for you before you make a speech to make sure that you will willingness and intention to give a speech. Okay, thank you.
And now I think it would be great if we take a picture together. So may I invite the University Administrator, the Director of IRC, and member from General Education Network to proceed onto the stage. Please สมัยนะคะ Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all, Mr. President, for coming to the opening ceremony. So now it's a time for our keynote speaker. So let me introduce a little bit about our keynote speaker. Associate Professor Dr. Ravinder Koul. Actually, he told me that he would prefer us to call him Ajahn Koul. So, Dr. Koul or Ajahn Koul is an Associate Professor of Science Education at the Pennsylvania State University, USA. He is 3-time recipient of Fulbright Senior Specialist Award by the United States Department of State Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. He also coordinates a number of graduate programs at Penn State University. And he is in the Curriculum Planning Committee at Penn State Online Teaching Leadership World Campus Program. And now he is currently conducting international research in STEM education or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education with Thai University faculty and Thai doctoral students. And he has published more than 30 research articles in peer-reviewed educational research journals and supervised more than 200 graduate research projects. And also in his last 8 years, 6 students from Thailand, and of course including me and Dr. Chanat, have successfully completed doctoral studies under Dr. Koul's supervision and published work in international research journal. I feel we are really lucky to have his presence and contribution at our university today. And I will add one more thing today because I have known him for 4 or 5 years that he has told me that he would like to continue doing good things for Thailand. He said one thing which I feel very impressed. He said he want to do good thing for Thailand because he loved Thailand. He loved everything about Thailand. And one more thing, Dr. Koul has requested that all participants should feel free to raise your hand and interrupt and ask questions whenever you feel like. He said that do not wait till him finish. If you have questions, just raise your hand. He like if we participate and ask questions. And so I think it's now the time that I should invite our keynote speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome อาจารย์คอยินดีต้อนรับอาจารย์คอค่ะ Please proceed on to the stage. May I add one thing more? If you want to ask questions, maybe you can mix with Thai and English. Because he has been in Thailand, he's not lived in Thailand, but he come to Thailand 3-4 times a year, and maybe already 8 years. So I think he also feel comfortable with Thai people and Thai language. And maybe we will hear him speaking Thai a little bit in his presentation.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Thanita, and thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, our Director, Ajahn Samjai. And it's a pleasure to be here. And it's a pleasure to be here. Maybe I should lift it a little bit. Okay, I'll take it out. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and in fact, it's an honor to be here. And I think one of the things, like Dr. Thanita was talking about, is I prefer it to be. This is a small group of people. I prefer you to me asking questions so that it is an interacting and stimulating session. I hope so. One of the things I want to maybe a little bit warn you is that this presentation is going to be curricular and research perspectives on journal education. And when I think about curricular and research perspectives, I teach a lot of, some of the courses I teach at Penn State include a lot of issues of curriculum, and I'm in a lot of curriculum planning committees at Penn State. So I prefer to use a little bit curricular angle in order to understand the general education reform. That's one thing. Second thing, which I think is very important for me, is in last 7-8 years, I have decided that the best way for me to engage myself in Thailand is to work with doctoral students and faculty to do research in Thailand. So everything which I will talk to you today, some of the things will be based on the research done in Thailand, not done in US and talking about that research. That's a separate issue. So the research I will talk to you about today is the research done by the doctoral students, and it has contributed to their completing their PhDs here, and it has also given me a different perspective on general education. So in fact, maybe one of the papers there which we have been working on is actually Dr. Thanita and Chanat collected data from SWU here. So it's interesting. So I will talk both from curricular perspectives and research perspectives when I'm talking about general education. Now, how will we talk about, let me just start the other slide. Okay. All right. So for today's session, what we will be talking about is, firstly, I will start with very basic thing. What is the general education program at Penn State? Just a snapshot. And I will do that before we have the break. Then the definitions of general education, just simple definitions because there are so many definitions floating around. Then I will talk about a framework for curriculum reform in general education for 21st century. Then I will come to the research perspectives on general education, which are based on the research done with doctoral students and faculty in Bangkok. And the data has been collected from all over Thailand, northeastern Thailand and different parts of Thailand. Then finally, in the afternoon sessions, I will be talking about models of curriculum, because Penn State is currently exploring 4 different models of general education curriculum, 4 different models. And we are actually undergoing general education reform at Penn State. In fact, Penn State wants to be the leader in general education, all right? And they're very concerned because 25% or 25-30% of the undergraduate coursework is in general education. And you know that. Mostly students do not take general education seriously. And a lot of times, even in my university, general education courses are taught by students, doctoral students or research assistants. So Penn State now is learning that the parents pay a lot of money for these tuition, and it's a very competitive market, and they better spend more energy on reforming our general education program. So I'll talk about different models, and I will talk about tensions in general education curriculum. And then I will end up with the dimensions of quality general education programs. So this is what we will do today. Now, let me start by some of the things which I would like you to find out my sources. Some of the sources which I have here are, for example, the Penn State general faculty task force, different people, they have done different analysis, and they have done different surveys, and they have written different reports. So those are the sources I'm using in my presentation. What is called Penn State General Education Task Force. So those are the sources I'm going to use. In addition to those sources, I will also be sharing with you the research. These are all the research which I have done and with doctoral students here, and these are all published in international journals, and these are the research which we have done, and I will try to share with you. I will try to communicate with you these research. I think one of the problems I feel in education or in generally in STEM education or in education generally is we do not communicate research very well. People don't know. And mostly they're published in journals. So I think I will try to share with you what we have found and what implications they have for general education reform. So these are all research, and all this research is done with my faculty and doctoral students, and I have done in last 8 years. Okay. Let me start with, first thing is, what is general education curriculum? Let me clarify a couple of things here. The first thing when we talk about general education is, when you look at it, is the fundamentals. Now, we have to separate different types of curriculum. One are the fundamentals. The fundamentals is basically ability to communicate orally or in writing. And that's really nothing to do with the idea of general education. Everybody should know how to do that. Those are fundamentals when we talk about curriculum. The second thing is major. So when students join the university, they graduate, they choose a different major, science, math, English, they choose different majors, and those are the majors. The third thing when we talk about curriculum is electives. Now, electives are different from majors, because sometimes students may be interested in the undergraduate level, might be interested in working on health policy issues or global studies issues, then they take some electives in that area. Those are. The last one is general education, and the idea of general education has been that the issues like individual character, social responsibility, civic engagement, holistic thinking, and those kind of ideas have guided. And that's where general education, or I think one idea which really I am interested in is ethical decision making, for example. And those ideas are under general education. So when we talk about undergraduate curriculum in the universities, we should always keep in mind there are 4 different types of curriculum, and they are not the same, they are different. The first is fundamentals, which everybody is supposed to know, then is the major, then is the elective, and then is the idea of general education. All right, so they are separate. Okay, they are separate. Okay. Now, so at Penn State, so let me introduce you a little bit. I'm also a little bit learning about general education program in SWU. So as I started, and I think some of the things when I was developing this presentation, I'm grateful to Dr. Tanita, because I asked her many times questions and clarification about your program, and I was trying to think about how it applies to our program at Penn State. One of the things is that at Penn State, an undergraduate student takes about 120 to 130 credits. Out of that, 45 credits are actually in general education requirements at Penn State. So if you think about it, 45 is almost 1/3. And 1/3 is very, very important, but it's not really important many times from the perspective of students. And it's not important sometimes from the perspective of the program. And now, all students must complete around 45 credits. Okay. Now, these are all in Penn State Graduate Bulletin. Now, here is the thing, most important thing to remember. When you think about Penn State's general education program, the first thing we call about is skill courses. The courses which focus on skills. And they are basically two important skills which all the students we feel. And I have to say they are really important when I think about my work with a lot of students even here. Even I feel they are even more important here, is quantitative and communication skills. And communication skill, the writing skills, I think it's my understanding that in Thai universities, this is a big challenge, the ability to write, ability to communicate your idea in writing, all right? I personally feel that Thai college students have very good quantitative skills. This is just my perspective. And many of the students I have worked with, they have excellent quantitative skills, better than many of my students in US. But I think the ability to communicate and write is a big problem. So one of the things we try to make sure at undergraduate level is the issues of skill courses. The second aspect of Penn State general education is the knowledge domain, and I will talk to you about knowledge domain. Knowledge means science, math, English, different area. So the idea of knowledge domain is that you learn about different types of knowledge, For example, how is scientific knowledge different from mathematical knowledge? How is historical knowledge different from scientific? How is scientific inquiry different from mathematical inquiry? So students have an understanding that there are different ways of world. For example, religious view of looking at the world is not same as scientific view of looking at the world. It is not that religion is bad. It's different. It's a different way of looking at it. So Satsana mai hemun gan nakrab, Vidyasat nakrab. So they are very, very different. So there are different way of looking at the world. The other courses we have are called first year engagement courses. When students come into the university, we want to make sure that students understand what our university is all about. So they make a transition from school into the university, and they don't know about university resources. They don't know what kind of research facilities are available in the university, what are the resources, what are the different types of things they can do. So we have what is called first year engagement programs, and which introduces students to the scholarly community so they start understanding. The fourth type is writing across curriculum, which means writing in different content areas, and I think those are the courses which we focus on. The last one is United States culture and interculture, international cultures. I mean, this is become now, as you understand, I mean, maybe this is the reason I'm here. I mean, these are the issues we're facing everywhere, and even at Penn State, in last 8, 9, 10 years, they are paying more attention to international and intercultural competence. And it's a little bit strange that there are many universities in Thailand, in terms of internationalization, in my view, they are maybe a little bit ahead of my university, even though my university is ranked very high in the world, but I still feel that we have, now Penn State is paying a lot of attention to internationalization and globalization. And so the last competency we expect students to have is they should know about United States culture, but they should also know that they're the part of international culture. So there are courses like that. So now, when we think about skill courses at Penn State, writing, speaking, quantification, these courses are given certain designation at Penn State. For example, writing, speaking is GWS. So when the student goes to the catalog and they look at it and they say, this course will count as GWS, and then they can take that course and meet that requirement. Now we have quantification, course with labels. When they flip through the Penn State catalog of different courses, they look at the courses. GQ is a quantification course, and the objective is skill development. Okay. So each courses, many courses, so each department has designated, each department has found out certain general education courses, and if a course is given GQ designation, that means this course will count towards skill courses, as part of the skill courses towards quantification skills. If a course is GWS, then it means it's a writing speaking course. Then we have courses in knowledge domain, because they don't need to know skills only, they also need to know different knowledge, right? Different knowledge domain. Now, here's an interesting thing. The idea of general education is, the whole idea of general education, and I will come to that idea, is guided by this idea that you should not only know about your major, you should also develop holistic thinking about different areas I'm not a mathematician, but even as, I mean, I was trained in physics, but even as not knowing much about mathematics, I think I should understand how mathematical inquiry is different from scientific inquiry. I'm not a historian, but I should understand how historical inquiry is different. So these courses are talking about different knowledge domain. So course which is GHA, health, and this course is dealing with health and physical activity courses. So there are many courses which are dealing with health and physical activity. These days, for example, because of obesity epidemic in US, the Department of Health and Physical Activity would like to have more and more courses dealing with health education in the part of the general education curriculum. And we'll get to that issues. But you know what happened is that when you think about general education, every department says, this is very important, this is very important, this is very important. So each department tries to say which their particular knowledge domain is more relevant to the idea of general education. So you have health and physical education is one knowledge domain. Natural sciences is another knowledge domain. Now, natural sciences, and these ones are given a designation of GN. These are given a designation of GN. So these are the called, and students should understand the nature of science, and so these are the courses dealing with natural science. Then there are courses about arts. There are courses in arts, and they are given the designation GA. And then there are courses about, which are, in addition to arts, about humanities, which are given GH designation, and they fall into literature, history, and language, and philosophy, and these are the courses dealing with humanities. Then there are courses about social and behavioral sciences. So these courses are given the GS designation. So when students look at the catalog, they can know from that particular department where this falls and which course they should take. Now, then there is, in addition to this skills and knowledge domain, there is a first-year engagement program. And as I mentioned earlier, that the idea is they try to understand that there are high expectations, there are demanding workload, there are increased academic liberties. So they're just trying to make transition to the college life. And these are the courses dealing with that, called first-year engagement courses. Okay, all incoming first-year students are required to take these courses. And okay, the last one, which was added in 2007, the last one is, in addition to United States culture, which is, they should understand more about their own local context. And when they think about United States culture, we have different objectives. They should understand issues of social identity, ethnicity, race, class, religion, gender, all those kind, and physical, all those issues they should understand. They should understand about United States value, traditions, and those kind of things. They should understand that that how the idea of social identity. So this is all about United States culture. In addition to US culture, now this has been a major change in last 7 years at Penn State. This has become more and more important because now we are realizing that we are actually have many more international students, and we must serve them well in two ways. We also have World Campus and what is called Penn State World Campus, and I'm part of one program there in Penn State World Campus, which is completely 100% online. This is 100% online. So what Penn State is realizing is that they should definitely introduce all students, American students and international students, all students to international culture, and intercultural competency has become a major thing. Just like we here in Thailand are dealing with ASEAN community, I think it's the same idea. And international culture. So the idea is to cultivate similarity and differences among different cultures, knowledge of cultural value, traditions, beliefs, and range of achievements. So students have some courses they can choose which will count as international culture or intercultural competency. Okay. And the last one is writing across curriculum. This has become a very important issue even in even in schools. In elementary schools, writing across curriculum is a big thing, and now in universities also writing across curriculum to promote more interdisciplinarity in terms of communication skills. So this is very important now also. Now, so that is just an introduction. Any question about Penn State's program so far? I'm only talking about what is the existing program. Later on today, I will talk to you about Penn State's educational reform and the issues in Penn State's reform. But right now, I'm introducing the current educational program, how it is structured. All right. So, any questions so far? Is everybody okay? All right. Everything, okay. Yes, please.
Just go back to your general, the slide of general education at Penn State.
Okay.
You classify general education at Penn State into 5 categories, right? Skill courses, knowledge, domain.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just wonder, just curious. For skill courses, I think that we should look at the student closely to see how much skill they get from the course. How do you evaluate them?
Yeah, the evaluation for these courses will depend on different subject areas, and they will have their own assessment methods. And what happened is at Penn State, we have right now, the way it stands, each department has some set of courses which count as general education courses. Each department, science department, math department, different what you call faculty. All right. So each they counted, and they may have their own assessment methods. All right, and they will have own assessment. So, for example, analyzing scientific inquiry skills is not same as skills in other domains or historical skills. So each department will have their own assessment tools, how those skills will be evaluated. All right. So I think that's what is there. As I will discuss with you, Penn State, interestingly, is exploring now a model in which they would like to create a separate budget and separate faculty working with general education program. So it's very interesting that we would like to be more like you. So, but the skills, assessment of skills varies from department. It depends on the department and how they're doing it. Is that okay? Okay. Now let me go to the next one. Sure. Yes. Yes, please.
So I think all courses that you provide for general education at Penn State University, I think it's the same as the course as the student they learn or study in the primary school or secondary school, right? So what different? Like history of United States, I think the student they used to learn or used to study in their school before they enter the university.
Yeah,
so what different?
This is quite different because I think at that level, the idea at the university level is much deeper and more interpretive, and is much the thinking is much more promoted. It's much more at a different level. It's not more memorization. It's much more understanding more about the United States value, why those values are appeared, how those values will be questioned, which are much deeper issue than the children at elementary or middle or secondary school. So they are developmentally, so there is much more development, high development level than what you see in elementary or middle school, you know. But I will come back to another issue, which is the Penn State model of general education right now is much more like a, what we call cafeteria model. Cafeteria model is, if you want to go to cafeteria, you send the students to cafeteria, what would you like to eat? They all want to eat carrot cake, right? And one of the things in Penn State's model is, one we are realizing is a problem, is students like to choose the courses which are easy to get good grades, all right, which are not rigorous. So we call it a cafeteria model because students choose whatever they like. And in the end, what they like is where it's easy, not really rigorous, and it may not be that much meaningful, but they want to boost their GPA, and sometimes they use general education courses, and that's what Penn State is now concerned about. And that's why, since last 2-3 years, we have become very serious about reform. And those issues I will talk to you in the afternoon when I discuss the general education reform at Penn State. But right now, I'm just introducing, I was just talking about the basics of general education curriculum right now at Penn State. Okay, all right. All right, okay, let me go to the next thing. Now, when we think about general education, now just with a little bit introduction about general education at Penn State, what I want to do is, the first thing which comes to my mind when I think about general education is, what is general education anyway? What is it? And what is the idea of general education? So I just thought I picked out some of these definitions of general education from different universities. If you look at general education from the Pennsylvania University, my university, they talk about individual character, which is, and democratic and civic engagement, which has become a big issue now, in fact. Global understanding, right? Informed analysis. Now, when you think about informed analysis, Penn State uses this term, but if you go to a university like, for example, Emory, they use the word evidence-based learning. And the idea of evidence-based learning is evidence is used differently in different disciplines. In history is different, in law is different, in science is different, in religion, in sasana is different. So different domains of knowledge have evidence, and in Emory they talk about evidence-based decision-making, but Penn State used the word informed analysis, similar but not same. Ethical decision-making, which has become a big issue, ethics. Ethics are big issues. And I am very, very interested in the idea of ethics. And in fact, one of the things I'm very interested in is, which I'll talk to you later, is, for example, why students cheat, okay? And what is the motivation for cheating? And I will talk to you those studies which I've done with doctoral students here in Thailand. And the data has been collected, some of that, in Thailand. I've done these studies in US, I've done these studies in Thailand. And it's a very interesting, important issue in my view, ethical decision making. So this is a Penn State kind of journal idea about what the idea of general education should be. So it's an explicit, not implicit, explicit curriculum that integrates the whole. And how does it integrate the whole? It integrates the character, engagement, global understanding, evidence-based decision-making, informed analysis, and ethics together into one whole person. So that's what you want. You want a person to have all these attributes in one person. That's what you strive for. That's your purpose, right? Okay. Now you look at University of Pennsylvania. This is also one of the top universities in the world. Their idea is interesting. They talk about some exposure to whole range of disciplines and areas of knowledge. So they talk about whole range. So that means students should understand different disciplines, how they are, and so that they are not focused on one narrow discipline. They become physicists or chemists. No. ไม่พอ that's not enough. They need to have a broader outlook so that they can understand that there is no one way of looking at the world. There are multiple ways of looking at the world. And then they also say, that's one. And second is, you also need to have some general critical competency, ability to write, ability to convey your ideas. So both things are essential in UPenn, University of Pennsylvania's idea of general education. Now, if you look at some other university, for example, this university, Nichols State University, they talk about skills, knowledge, habits of mind. And I will come to that idea later. What is it? Values. They talk about that. And then they say, if you got all these things, then you are okay in preparation for the market. They talk about it. Now, I will talk to you more about some of these issues a little later. So this is Nichols' idea. Now, you think about Indiana University, they talk about again, what is an educated person? And they say that an educated person should be, the educated person is they talk about breadth of experience, they talk about ethics, they talk about critical thinking, communication, it's pretty much same, and appreciate wisdom and beauty. Now, the problem is, I will just clarify this point. I will come back to this point, and this is an important point. Penn State does not now want people to use the word critical thinking. They don't want. Because you know why? Many people at Penn State feel the word critical thinking has no meaning. Now, it's a debatable issue, but the question is, they say that sometimes we use vague terms, and that vagueness kind of perpetuates. So there are people, they said, we should use some other terms which we can better understand, and they are related more to, coming back to the Ajah's earlier question, assessment. So you do not talk about some things you cannot assess. How do you assess critical thinking? But evidence-based decision-making is a part of critical thinking, and you can assess evidence-based decision-making. So Penn State would prefer you to talk about evidence-based decision-making rather than talking about critical thinking. So it's an interesting issue. And okay, now this is your university, I guess my university. That's where I am here right now today with you. And if you look at, I hope that it is correctly translated a little bit. And I think for this I relied on expertise of Dr. Thanita. I said, can you tell me what is the definition of G at SWU? And then this is what I think it's pretty much like this, students' horizons, and you talk about the idea of sufficient economy. Now this one, even in Thailand, you are talking about this, the King's idea. It's a similar idea in my university when we talk about sustainability. It's pretty much, and Green University, it's very similar ideas. But maybe your idea is maybe more holistic, and our idea is maybe more environmental focused. So they talk about nature, self, other society, moral issues. So Penn State talks about ethical-based decision-making and moral issues. This is similar, related issues. And you also talk about arts and Thai culture, international culture, and we will talk about that later. So this is SWU. So one thing to note is there is no one definition of general education, but the idea of general education is guided by a call for well-rounded education, lifelong learning, critical thinking, and these kind of ideas people shape the idea of general education. And the themes of general education, the first thing is idea. The second is the themes, my mangan. Idea and themes. So you have to identify based on the idea, what kind of themes would you like to have when you think about general education? The themes could be moral grounding. So students have ethical-based decision-making. Those are the citizenship, global understanding, diversity, is a very important issue for our ability to deal with people who are different than us. That's a very important part of intercultural competency I think everybody should have. And I think Thai student university, as they're becoming more global, I think diversity is very, very extremely important. Creativity, leadership, and sustainability. So these are the kind of themes which focus on the idea of general education. Now, what I want to talk to you is, how are we doing with time? What time is? Okay, all right. Okay. So, if you ask me, now here I want to clarify, and this is the very important PowerPoint in my view, and I will spend time on this PowerPoint to explain my concept of when we teach, what we teach. In my view, when we teach, when I started teaching, I was teaching physics, and I taught in South Africa also. When I taught first time, I really thought about only content, physics. I just had the book. I thought, oh, it's very easy. I just have physics. I know experiments. I know how to collect data and all. And I will be very honest with you. My personal journey has been move away from physics and learning more education. So now, I don't think of myself as a physicist. In fact, I don't, even though I work for Science Education Department at Penn State, I don't think of myself as science educator. I prefer to use many times the word educators, because I feel that the idea of teaching and learning is the content, the subject matter is a very small aspect of teaching and learning. It's important. Content is important. I'm not saying that, but it is a small aspect. And I will hopefully talk to you those aspects. So there are many more dimensions of teaching and learning. You know, there is a very nice Buddhist quote is that, which I like, that you become what you think. So thought, your thinking, mind, your attitudes, your goals, your aspirations, your habits of mind, your view of knowledge, all those things are very important part of learning, teaching and learning. So the first thing when we talk about teaching and learning is subject matter. And this is what I mostly focused on when I was teaching. Force is equal to mass time acceleration. This is E is equal to mc squared. We talk about all those formula. We talk about Lagrange equation. We talk about differential equations. Those are the things we talk about. This is just the content. Now, many times content is called declarative knowledge. If you ask, what is the capital of Thailand? You say Mahanakhon, Grungthep, or Bangkok, right? And that is just declarative knowledge. That is a fact. So that is the first aspect of teaching. The second aspect of teaching is about procedural knowledge, skills. Can you draw a graph? Do you know how to plot different variables, all right? Can you create a path analysis model? Those things people who are doing, so those are scientific process skills, classification skills, problem-solving skills, decision-making skills, interdisciplinary thinking skills, and critical thinking skills. Remember I said, let's not use the word critical thinking, but you see the word is there. We can't get rid of it. So the idea is the critical thinking skills. These are all types of skills we talk about. The third aspect, which has become very important in recent reforms in US, when we teach, we not only teach content, skills, we also teach the nature of knowledge, what knowledge is and what it is not. Now, here is the interesting thing. Nature of knowledge is called epistemology. And epistemology, or it's a word from episteme, the word is epistemology. Epistemology, now all of us in this room, all of my students anywhere, they have their own view of knowledge, what knowledge is, right? And that is their personal epistemology. So when I teach science, I'm not only teaching what formula is, I'm not only teaching skills, I'm also teaching implicitly or explicitly what science is not. If students believe math is about facts, they will learn it as facts. If they believe math is about process, they will try to understand the process. All right. So the point is, nature of knowledge, nature of art, nature of discipline, and this part is very important part of general education. Because in general education, we want them to understand different ways in which knowledge is in different disciplines, right? Now, so in all recent reforms, for example, if you look at science education reforms in US, for example, for the undergrad, for the schools, or you look at literacy reforms, reforms in mathematics in US, one of the things they have included even in elementary school and middle school and high school is these aspects, nature of knowledge. Because when students understand the nature of knowledge at college level, before they go into the college, they understand what is science. Can I engage in scientific inquiry? How is it different from some other types of inquiry? Then they are able to make better decision which particular field may be more appropriate for them. So nature of knowledge. So nature of knowledge is important because what nature of knowledge is also shapes your content, how you learn the content, and the skills you adopt. So nature of knowledge is the third thing, a very important thing. The last thing is attitudes, values, thinking disposition, and habits of mind. Now, in my research here, in a lot of research we have done here, even in Thailand, I'm interested in these things, which is the last one: lifestyle values, motivational goals, personal epistemology of students, their thinking dispositions, their beliefs about ability. Now, just to give you a very simple example, think about it. A high school student, if you look at the high school students, and you look at the scores of high school students, and Puchai, Puing, boys and girls, and you look at the scores in physics, you will see that Puing in physics, on average, their scores will be higher than Puchai, right? You will see that. And it's across curriculum in mathematics, in physics, mostly they will be higher. At least they will not be less. So females, high school girls are scoring as good as high school boys. But if you ask them, who is good in physics? They will say Puchai, right? And if you ask them how good you are in physics, they will underestimate their ability. All right. So if females are here, they think they are here. If Puchai are here, they think they are here. All right. So your ability beliefs, students' ability beliefs, and this is the very important point, I will come back to you later. Ability beliefs, your self-concept in each discipline, physics, math, chemistry, is a better predictor of your career success. So now, coming back to the point, it's not just content, it's not just skills, it's about what you think different discipline is, and your attitudes, your values, your thinking disposition, your self-concept, all those aspects are important aspects. And when we teach, we shape all these things in the classroom every day. That's why I personally believe teaching is not just about content. Teaching is about a learning environment you create where you have a comprehensive understanding of all the 4 aspects of teaching when we teach. So my journey, I feel personally, when I started teaching for physics for the first time, was to move myself away from content and skills to other aspects of teaching, which are very important. All right, so we'll talk about that. Any questions so far? Yes.
I would like to ask you that about the difference between the liberal arts education and general education, because sometimes in this era, it's maybe that liberal arts education is just like favorite again, maybe more than general education. Maybe in Thailand,
Yeah.
some university and some Highland educator is said about the liberal arts education.
Yeah. I think the difference is more historical, and the idea of liberal education is basically I think liberal education is more clear than general education. General education is that you have different things altogether, and it's, in my view, it's a kind of a vague term, if you think to me. The idea of liberal education is a very clear term. The idea of liberal education is that a person should be not really specialized. Now, when we think about undergraduate students, we say, okay, there were a group of curriculum theorists who said, why not we prepare students for workforce? Now, the liberal educator said, you don't know what they are going to be. How can you prepare them for something they don't know even themselves, who they want to be? And the environment is also changing all the time. So why not we create the idea of liberal education is the student should be able more rounded education so that they know about everything. So tomorrow, when they want to graduate and take up a job, they can move in any particular field. They are not specialized. So the idea of liberal education is not to specialize it, not to vocationalize education. One of the problems is there is a pressure from industry, and there is a lot of pressure on education that how can we train for the tomorrow workforce? But sometimes the liberal educator will say, you can never train people for the workforce because they don't know what they want to be, and the environment is going to change all the time. So liberal education idea is, what we need is a person who has well-rounded liberal education so that they can adopt to any skills when they graduate. That's the idea. I think general education idea, in fact, if you ask me, I'm myself not clear. It's a hodgepodge. It is because there are different models of general education. And all those models of general education shape what is meant by general education. There is no clear meaning. In fact, I will argue each model of general education gives different meaning to general education. For example, some models of general education focus on interdisciplinary thinking. So they are guided by more idea of integrated education, that you integrate all the things. But that's totally different than the idea of liberal education. The liberal education idea is very simple. You have students coming to the college. You need to prepare them for the industry. What should you do? Should you prepare them for specific trade or specific content skills, something like that? Well, you will say, in industry, they are not going to use history. They are not going to use philosophy. So maybe we take history, philosophy out. We don't need to bother about arts. But liberal educator says, no. Everything, what we want is a well-rounded person. We don't want them to train for any vocational profession. We want them to be well-rounded. So they should have all different skills so that tomorrow when they join the industry, they can adopt to any situation. Now, because the people who are liberal education, they say, if they know how to do good decision making, they can apply that decision making in business. They can apply decision making in engineering profession. They can apply this decision making in teaching profession because they have liberal education. They know how to make good decisions, and they can apply those skills, general liberal skills, for any particular field. So the whole idea in US, the liberal educator like John Dewey, people like him, they were totally against the idea of vocationalization of American education. They wanted students to have more the idea of liberal education. One very good university in near Vermont, where I often visit, a very nice college is Bennington College. So maybe you can, if you look at that college, that's a good model of how the idea of liberal education is practiced in US, Bennington College in Vermont. So I hope I answer your question, Ajahn.
They just asked about the critical thinking skills that you just mentioned earlier, that it's hard to evaluate, right?
Yeah.
So what kinds of concrete assessment that you use for evaluating this kind of skills, critical thinking skills do you use?
Yeah, I think the only idea right now comes to my mind is that, like I was saying, the idea of evidence-based use of evidence. For example, do students, if students are doing some simple experiment, we ask them to tell us what kind of evidence they use and then communicate the nature of evidence. So if you think critical thinking skill, one important aspect of critical thinking is use of evidence so that your decision is more informed. Then doesn't matter what your subject is, how you use the evidence. If you're teaching religion, what counts as evidence in religion? If you're teaching history, what counts as evidence in history? If you're teaching archaeology, what counts as evidence in archaeology? If you're teaching science, what counts as an evidence in science? And then looking at whether students are able to use the evidence properly and report what counted as evidence and why it counted as evidence, right? In fact, Tibetan monks in I don't know, you know about Dalai Lama, who is a spiritual guru. He has many monks who learn about science because he wants them to learn not only evidence in science, in religion. He also wants them to learn evidence in science and how evidence in religion and science is different, which is a very interesting idea. So, which is much more open-minded attitude towards religion, that we should, if we want to understand religion better, maybe we should understand science also. So I think it's just one way to do it.
This may not be a question, but maybe sharing.
Sure.
I do agree with you that the grade category, the teaching grade category is more important than the pink one. But for a teacher, one who teach, instructor or professor, when I think that, like you said, you have a background in physics and you concentrate on content teaching. Yeah. So I think that, and then you move to the grade category, education of knowledge So do you think that people who have an idea or can move very well from pink category have to have a very good content, understand good content first, and then they have a way or they realize by themselves that okay, the one should be provided to students first. So this is a sharing maybe. Or do you agree with me?
No, I completely agree with you. I think I will come back to, Ajahn, I will come back to this issue a little bit later, and I will talk to you about different models of general education curriculum, and then they will talk about where the tensions are, where the problems are, and I will also discuss with you why these things are important, and I think some of these things will be more clear then, and the ways in which these things play part. I will also share with you some of the research. I will share with you some of the models of general education curriculum. And I think when I talk about it, maybe we can have more discussion on what you brought up. So, all right. What we will do now is in the next section, in this session, I think this session is, in my view, is a little bit, I feel is quite important for me to share with you some of the research and how we talk about general education. So one of the things I feel is when we think about general education for the 21st century, as I discussed earlier, these are the aspects of teaching. So when we think about these four aspects of teaching, now when we talk about 21st century general education reforms, and we talked about there are many different reforms. One important issue which I think has become very important in Thailand in last so many years, I guess after 97, they started realizing that they really need to improve the quality of English medium education, and then they started dealing with the issue of how they can make Thailand participate in the global economy. So it became very critical that Thai students need to have English language competencies. All right. And now you have in many different universities in Thailand, you have international education, international programs. You call them international programs, which are basically English medium programs, right? So when I think about general education now, this issue of English medium instruction is kind of, is a major, I would think about it as a major curriculum reform which has been going on, not only in Thailand, but it's going on in many different countries. It's going on in China, it's going in other countries. And the idea is English is the global language, and because it's the global language, and if you want to integrate more with the ASEAN community, for example, from the Thai perspective, then English medium instruction is important. So English medium instruction, so one can think of it as a curriculum reform, and this has really picked up in 21st century, and it's become a major thing. The second thing is, which is related to it, is intercultural competency. Like you talk about in Thailand, that we need to learn we need to know a little bit about Cambodia, about Laos, about other countries which are, and similarly in US we talk to students and they maybe need to learn more about other parts of the world, because by tradition I feel that we in US are very US centered. We are very centered in our world. We don't know much about world. And most people in other countries know more about US than we know about the other parts of the world. So if you go to US and you look at the media, you feel the whole world is America. There's nothing outside America, right? And that's very American-centered. When my wife and I were working in a small village in South Africa, and we both decided that we want to teach, and we work in a small village, we realized that their school map was provided through US Foundation. In that map, the center of the map was America and everything was around it. So it looks like it was very US-centered map. And we looked at the map, we said, how silly this is to give this map to the children in Africa. They have to break the whole planet Earth to create US at the center. And so I think there is this US-centered world, and that's why many universities in the US are realizing now they must focus on global outlook and intercultural competency. And so there is really strong increase in those competency, intercultural competency. Another reform which has been taking, and I think people in science, math, engineering, education, many universities for example, in Thailand, are talking about STEM education. Now, this is a very big thing in US. In last 10 years, there's so much money being poured in improving the science, math, engineering, and there are many programs. At Penn State, in my university also, there are many programs where engineering faculty, science, they link with education, and then they try to promote more STEM education. So if you want to apply for engineering money in US, you have to have a STEM education, some education outreach component in the proposal to get it accepted. And so STEM education is also a big thing here also these days. I've heard about it. And there are conferences on, there are journals on. So STEM education is a major curricular reform, I feel, in my view, when you think about 21st century. Another reform is the idea of critical thinking. So I'm just putting it there because this is something which kind of came to my mind, and I will tell you why I'm including it later. The next thing is about ethical decision making. I think this has become a major issue. So many issues with corporates in US have come up. In fact, recently, about, I think it was in the news about 1 year back or 2 years back, many nuclear scientists in US were cheating on exams. And they were supposed to be basically, they were supposed to be, they had an exam which they had to upgrade their knowledge, and they realized that on that exam, many of the nuclear officers who were really supposed to be making decisions, they cheated on those exams. And it became a very big issue. I think the issues of ethics, and same thing with many businesses in US, the corporates, corporate sector, ethical decision making is critical. And ethical decision making can go in many, many different directions. Ethics of students in general education, ethics of, we were talking about doctors, ethics in other fields. So it's become a major issue, ethical decision making. And the point is, in my view is, if you are in a high school, you cheat there, and you are in the college, you cheat there, you're more likely to cheat in life, right? So, I mean, there is study, and we'll get to that. And I think one of the questions comes to my mind is, I will tell you, the question interests me is why people cheat. I think it's a very interesting, simple question, very simple question, but we still don't know. There are many, many different theories, and I will talk to you about the theories which I've used to understand. The doctoral students in Thailand with me have tried to understand why Thai students cheat. What is the reason, motivation for cheating? Environmental sustainability is a very big issue, and the King's idea also of this, and this is something we talk about as reforms. So when I think about reforms, I'm not saying these are the only reforms. There are other curricular reforms, but these come to my mind. And I'm using these reforms only because the research which I want to share with you, the results of the research I want to share with you, deal with each of these issues, almost each of these issues. They deal with these issues. So I have done research on English medium instruction. In fact, in July 4th, one of my doctoral students completed her PhD, and I was the co-advisor, and she finished we published in the International Journal of Educational Research a paper on English medium instruction, students' attitude toward English medium instruction. And that data was collected from Bangkok's colleges. STEM education with Dr. Thanita, I have done 2-3 studies on STEM education, and in fact she completed her doctoral thesis on STEM education, which was published in Australian Journal of Education, which is one of the very good journals. And then critical thinking, in fact with Dr. Chanat here, we have done a work on critical thinking and disposition. Then ethical decision making, there is another faculty member at KMUTT. I did some work with her about plagiarism, cheating, why students cheat, and that's more about that. Environmental sustainability, we did a paper in Journal of Values and Beliefs, and which is a paper on students' religion, Sasana outlook, and their attitudes towards the environment, which was published in Journal of Values and Beliefs. So I'll talk to you about all those. That's why I put these reforms there. These are important reforms. Now, my personal view is, no matter what we do with general education, the reforms ultimately is not about a piece of paper. It's not about, you can change so many books. It's not going to make any difference. Ultimately, curriculum is not about what you intend to do, your intention, piece of paper. It's about so many things. So you cannot have a reform by changing papers, by creating more handbooks, by creating more materials. The reforms must be adopted. Now think about a simple thing. If you want people to use a simple thing like iPhone or a mobile phone, right? Now, I don't use mobile phone mostly, can you believe, in US. I put it in my car. I never actually use it in US. Mostly, very rarely I use it. Now, in Thailand, I cannot survive without mobile phone, right? In US, I don't use it because when I go to my office, I have my regular phone there and I use that. At home, my wife does not like mobile because she says she doesn't like its signal. Now, at home, who is the boss? My wife, right? And in my office, I follow my university. So I have no authority. In my office, I have no authority at home, right? So I just follow that. And if you think about mobile, why people use mobile? Now, if you tell somebody, can you adopt this mobile? That person will ask you a question. The first question they ask, will come to their mind is it compatible with what I think about phone should be? So compatibility with your thinking about how the phone should be is very important idea before they're done. The second thing might be relative advantage. The person will say, what is the advantage for me to use this mobile? What it will do? And you say, you know what? If you're in Bangkok and you're stuck in the traffic, and the traffic is very bad, you have no way to communicate. So you say, you better have a mobile. So relative advantage over existing thing. Having a phone in the office, having a phone at home, my Paul, you need to have a mobile because when you are stuck in the traffic, you cannot use anything. So it has a relative advantage. So use mobile. And the person will be convinced, right? Complexity. Third thing is, if you give somebody mobile, it is too complex to use. You can't use it. It's too difficult. Then the person will say, it's too complex. I'm not going to use it. So complexity is an issue, right? So trialability. If you show somebody, look, you can try this mobile. This is iPhone. It's very easy to use. This person can try it. Observability. I see you using it. And I see you using it. I see the way you use it. I also observe you. I can use it. So the point is, when people adopt any innovation, it doesn't matter what innovation it is, any curriculum innovation, there are things which shape whether that innovation is going to be adopted. And one of the most important things is, what is an advantage to me? So if you think about English medium instruction, is English medium instruction compatible with my beliefs about who I am and who I want to be? Is it? Is it compatible with me? What is its relative advantage to me? Right? So you have to start thinking. Compatibility in this case may mean, if I think about, can you join it? Do you want to learn English? Oh, I have to think about it and I say, what does it mean to be Thai? Right? Is it important to be Thai and to learn English? All right. So one of the students, long time back, I asked her, I think you should learn more English because it will help you. She said, I'm Thai. Why should learn English? So I think it is compatibility. And some people feel that the idea of learning English is part of their identity. They feel they should learn English. And when you think about many societies, for example, if you think about many people in the Netherlands, you see a country like Netherlands, they speak fluent English, they speak fluent Dutch, they learn 2-3 languages. You go to US, we don't speak anything more than English. And in fact, many places in US, the dominant population is Spanish. Right? So it's funny that Dutch, which have mostly Dutch population, want to learn one more language, and US, where they should learn the Spanish, but we don't. So the point is, compatibility is a very important part of adoption of any reform. That means beliefs of the people, beliefs of students. So if you think about, for example, ethical decision making, you tell students, you should not cheat. But do you think they will stop cheating? No. Because what is happening here is, you are thinking that students don't have any intention. They don't have any goals. They don't have any attitudes. They don't have any mind. Just because I'm going to tell a student, they will stop cheating. So saying to students is not enough. We need to understand the values, the goals, the motivational orientation students bring to the classroom. Once we understand our students better, then we can try to find what kind of intervention, what kind of learning environment is going to at least reduce the amount of cheating in the classroom. Ethical behavior. So I think these are the issues. The issue is all these reforms must be compatible with people's belief before they are going to be adopted. Just like saying somebody use iPhone is not going to make them use iPhone unless they see the relative advantage of iPhone, unless they see the way in which an iPhone will benefit them, then they are more likely to adopt a mobile or an iPhone. All right, that's the most important point. So the most important point is, as journal educators, we need to learn more about students, their attitude, their values, their goals, so that we can create the right environment for them, so that we have more ethical decision making, we have less amount of cheating. All right, so we will talk about that, how we do that. Okay, now similarly, STEM education. STEM education, we want to have more and more. For example, think about Thailand. 25% of students are engineers, right? Females, and 75 males. It's a very big gap. Now, interesting thing is, if you think about Thailand, normally we associate physics, and we are working on 2 different papers on this issue. We have 75, we have some, even in physics department, maybe more females and sometimes. And when you have female scoring higher, but why do you have big gender inequity gap between males and females going into engineering programs? This has nothing to do with their GPA. It has nothing to do with the performance. It has to do with other issues. It has to do with the issues of attitudes, values, goals. Maybe the goals of females who aspire to be not doctor are different. They have different goals, all right? They relate to different goals. Maybe the goals of work and family. Those are very important goals. So we need to understand where are the sources of work-family conflict if we want to support the adoption of STEM education. So those are the issues we have to pay attention to. So my point is, all these reforms must be filtered through the attitude, values, goals of adopters of innovation. And who are the adopters of innovation? Our students in general education undergraduate program. Ultimately, everything we are doing here is for them. It's not for us. We already finished our Prinya 3, Prinya 2, Prinya 8, all right? We already job lao nakrab. So we already finished that. It's for them. So we must understand them, right? So let me talk to you why these issues okay. Now, in one study, we did a study, and this is about English medium instruction as a reform. We were interested in, and what I have done is, just to simplify the research, I just focus on questions and what we found, and then we will talk about what does it mean. I am interested in, we are interested in knowing that those students who choose English medium program, what motivates them to choose, all right? And we were interested in, and in this study, we collected data from many students who were in different programs, business, undergraduate, and we wanted to know, why do they choose a English medium master's degree program, for example, graduate program? What motivates them? So what are the motivational orientations? So motivational orientation of students who prefer English medium program versus those who prefer Thai medium program. So that's what we were interested in. And we found that in this study, we found that students have different goals. Different goals. Students have instrumental goals. And instrumental goals is this. I want to study English medium because I want to go to America, right? I want to study English because I want to get a good job. I want to get a good job. Or instrumental goal is I have to study English because I want to graduate. I cannot graduate. That's why I'm forced to study, right? So instrumental goal is much more utilitarian goal, that I do that for that reason. But there is another goal students may have, which is called socio-cultural goal, or what is called integrative goal. Students have integrative goal is different, very different from this goal. Some students, if you ask them why they want to study English, and they say, we want to study English because I want to listen to Madonna. I want to listen to her songs. I can't understand her songs. I like her singing very much, right? I'm not sure now young Thai teenagers don't like Madonna. They like something else, I know that. But they have socio-cultural goal. They want to learn. Or they might say, I want to make friend who's from outside the country, and they may have that goal. Or I want to learn about other cultures. So they may have socio-cultural goals. Or they may say, I want to speak English, I want to be like some big star they like in films, or somebody, and they feel associated with it. So they may have, or I want to learn more about the world, I want to study, I want to go to Singapore, I want to go to other countries. So they may have a social cultural goal. Social cultural goal is more not instrumental goal, not about getting a job, not about passing an exam, but about culture, about the culture, okay, making friends, right, that. All right, English language and anxiety. Now, what we found in this study was that the things which influence people's preference for English medium program is, we know that self-efficacy, which makes sense. Students feel confident in their ability, high self-efficacy, high preference. Social support, if they feel their parents and mothers and other people support them, they feel high preference. We also found that social culture goals are very important in terms of learning English language. And in anxiety is quam creat, is a big influence on English language learning. High in anxiety, no interest in English language learning. All right. Okay, now just a couple of things. In this study, we also found that we will talk about this issue later. We found that among students who prefer English medium program, one of the best predictor of their preferences for English medium instruction was not instrumental goal as much as socio-cultural goal. So socio-cultural goals are linked with your identity, who you are, who you want to be. So I feel the issues of identity are so important. So students, socio-cultural goals. So that means when you teach students, if you teach them and you emphasize the socio-cultural reason for learning language, they have more impact on their attitude toward learning, rather than telling students that you learn English because you will get an exam or you will pass it. Instrumental reasons have less effect on their attitudes toward English medium instruction. Now, another study, and I will come back to these Asia. Another study we did was, I'm going through some of these studies about science, technology, STEM education. And we were interested in, because we were interested in students, how students, now this is a different study, that was about English medium instruction because that is related with English medium reform. This is about STEM education. We found that students who are more mastery oriented, mastery orientation means intrinsic motivation. they have high self-efficacy in physics. Okay? We felt for males, cultural beliefs about gender, which means you believe that physics is for males, not for females. It has positive effect on males' self-concept in physics. They feel they are good in physics because physics is for males. So if males have strong gender identity, they feel I am Puchai, feel strong with their gender identity, they feel strongly they are better in physics. Females who have cultural beliefs about gender, they feel that physics is for males, not for females. It has negative effect on their self-concept in physics. And because it has negative effect, it also has effect on their aspiration if they want to be in science and physics when they go to the college. Their aspiration, who they want to be. Do they want to go into science profession, technology, engineering, and math? One of the major negative predictor is cultural beliefs about gender. If they have those stereotypes, we also use the word stereotypes, that females are not good in physics. Another thing which affects is called ability beliefs. If students believe that ability is fixed, Plian Madai cannot change. Some students believe intelligence, Plian Dai, can change. Those students who believe ability is fixed, they are less likely to aspire for high earning professions. Those students who believe ability can change, intelligence can change, are more likely to aspire. So your notion of ability, is it fixed? Your notion of whether this subject is for what? Has your attitudes are major things in their aspiration. So mastery goals, intrinsic motivation, ability beliefs, can intelligence change or intelligence is fixed? Cultural beliefs, is subject math for physics for males? Is physics for females? These beliefs have influence on high school students' aspiration for STEM professions. And this is the work which was done by Dr. Thanita. Now let's think about critical thinking. We did not measure critical as a curriculum reform. Critical thinking disposition. Critical thinking disposition is not critical thinking skills. Critical thinking disposition means attitude toward, it's more like a disposition. So this study we were interested in when students in the college, when you still have students in the college, what motivational factor are related to whether they have disposition to think like a critical thinking person, their attitude toward critical thinking disposition, which we call. And what we found is that now we differentiated skills. Skills are about abilities and competency. Dispositions are about attitudes and habits of mind. So we are talking here again, the attitudes and habits of mind. So in this study we found that we were interested in 4 different disposition, critical thinking disposition. First, cynical thinking, analytical thinking, empathy, pluralistic thinking. Why we measured it? Empathy is very, very important. It is called emotional intelligence. There is a lot of research, they have shown that people, emotional intelligence, samkhan magwa, is more important than actual intelligence. The most successful businessmen, businesswomen in the world have high emotional intelligence. And this is a very classic work by Goldman and others. He has written a book on emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is to understand others' point of view, all right? To have empathy, to understand others' perspective, those are the most successful leaders in the world who have empathy, which is emotional, not the most smart, not the intelligent, emotional. So empathy, we were interested in empathy. We were interested in pluralistic thinking. And remember, we were talking about intercultural competence. So pluralistic thinking disposition is about intercultural competency. I understand how a person who is from Cambodia or who is from Laos may have different set of thinking about some issue. I have an understanding of somebody who may not be from my religious beliefs, may think differently than me. So that is called pluralistic. Or sometimes pluralistic thinking can also be, I can look at evidence from multiple perspectives. And that is also called pluralistic thinking. So diverse viewpoint and conceptual position, different concept, different lens through which you look at the world. So that is called pluralistic. So we were interested in this, and this is Dr. Chanat's work. And what we found here is, we found that there were different goals students have. Mastery. Mastery goals are, I want to learn because I come to the class to learn new things. That's mastery. Performance is, I come to the class, I don't want to look stupid compared to the other students. I want to look better than others. So performance is, so because in university the environment has become very achievement oriented. These students are rejected, these students pass, these students fail. And I know SWU is one of the very good universities in this country. And so I think the environment is so achievement oriented. So students do a lot of social comparison, what we call social comparison. They compare, what did you get? Did you get A? I got A minus. You got A, B. So they compare. And teacher also in the classroom talks to students and say, oh, what did you get? What did you get? So it's a social comparison. So some students, when they come to the class, they're always thinking about, what will I get in this class? Will I get an A? Or if the teacher asks me a question, I don't want to look stupid. So that is much more performance goal. You are always worried how you are doing compared to others. Or you feel much better when you do better than others. Mastery goals is, you are focused not so much on what you got in your grade or how you did in comparison with others. You are thinking that, did I learn something new? Will it help me? Is it meaningful for me? So you're more thinking about intrinsic. So you focus in the class in terms of intrinsic motivation. Now, when we found that these goals students have are related to their critical thinking disposition. Now, for example, analytical thinking, we found that students who are mastery oriented, the college students in Thailand who are in general education or the program, who are mastery oriented or have more analytical thinking disposition. Students who are performance avoidance oriented, performance avoidance means they are always worried about looking stupid. They don't want to. They're worried that teacher may ask them a question and they may not look good in the class. There is negatively linked with analytical thinking. We found that emotional intelligence, remember I talked about mastery-oriented students have disposition for empathy, not performance approach, not performance avoidance. Mastery-oriented students, they have disposition for empathy, which is part of emotional intelligence. We found that, again, mastery-oriented students have disposition to engage in pluralistic thinking, multiple position, which is a part of intercultural competence. Okay, so these studies, this study which we discussed is about intercultural competence. And I will talk to you what these studies mean later, but let me go through these studies one by one. Another study, ethics. So I talked to you about studies on, first was on English medium instruction because that's a major reform. The second study was on STEM education because that's another reform. The third study was on critical thinking disposition because that's another reform. Now we'll talk about ethical-based decision making, which is about cheating attitudes. Now look here. We found in this study that we were interested in students' lifestyle values. Lifestyle values means students want to, what do you like the most? They like shopping. They like to see, oh, that person is driving a Volvo, or that person has a Mercedes-Benz, right? This is a much materialistic value orientation. We were interested in goals also, mastery, performance. We were also interested in religious orientation of students because we thought maybe people who are more religious is less likely to cheat, right? We thought about it. And we found that students who are highly materialistic, they judge things based on how many things people possess, which car you drive, okay? When I go, so those people who are more materialistic, they have high willingness to cheat, those students, high willingness to cheat, all right? Those students who are mastery-oriented, they have low willingness to cheat because if you are intrinsic motivated, cheating is no benefit to you because you don't care. You are intrinsically motivated, right? So cheating serves no purpose. So why cheat if you are intrinsically motivated? It serves no purpose. So we found that mastery-oriented students had low instance of self-reported cheating behavior. All right? Frequency. Avoidance orientation. High willingness to cheat. Students who are worried about looking stupid in the classroom, they have high willingness to cheat and they report high, again, cheating behavior. Now, religious orientation is interesting. Students who are highly religious, they are less willing to cheat. But if they cheated, they are more likely to report. They are less willing to cheat. Students who are very religious, they are less willing to cheat, but they are more likely to report if they cheated because they feel it's fair to their belief to report if they ever did. All right? And so they are less willing to cheat, but more willing to report if they ever cheated. So, but students who, okay. Now, another thing we found in this, and this was a doctoral student I worked with, Songsri Vidya. She's a faculty member at KMUTT. One thing we found is we looked at cheating behavior among students, and we found that, again, in these studies, we found that if you look at it, and you won't be surprised at, just look at it, students in vocational programs cheat the most. Students in management are number 2, engineering number 3, science number 4, humanities are the lowest in terms of cheating behavior in Thai colleges. Okay. Now this finding is very, very similar to what we have found in US. Okay. So people in vocational and management engineering, management is a big problem. Very high willingness to cheat. In fact, in US, it's a serious problem that management students are more willing. That's why there were so many courses on ethics and those issues. And no wonder when you see what is happening in our stock market and all kind of issues among different corporates and CEOs and engaged in many unethical behavior, it's a big concern, ethics, professional ethics. So vocational management, and in Thai, what we found? And this study, management, engineering, science, humanities, is exactly like in US. It's so interesting. Exactly here, Thai's findings are very similar like that. So vocational students are more likely to cheat, and males, sex, are more likely to cheat than females. That's not surprising. Males tend to engage in more risk-taking behavior than females. Females tend to avoid by follow the rules, tend to GPA, students who have high GPA are less likely to cheat. Students who are low GPA are more likely to cheat. And as I said, major. So level of self-reported cheating among students. So this is very, very interesting in terms of cheating behavior. Another thing which we were interested in terms of research was we were interested in knowing now we know students' goals, motivational goals, are related to their attitude toward cheating, they are related to their English medium instruction, they are related to many issues in STEM education. What about religious outlook? So one of my students was interested in knowing the relationship between religious outlook and attitude towards environment. And in that study, we found that mother's education was positively related with religious open-mindedness. Now, religious open-mindedness means jai guang. Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a better word, so I think jai guang may be okay. And it's just the opposite of jai cat. So environmental knowledge. How much students know about environmental issues, environmental value, environmental intention. Intention to do the right thing for the environment in Bangkok. Value, environmental value, environment knowledge. How much they know about environment, what is the value toward environment and environmental intention. We try to find out. We found that religious open-mindedness, students who are open-minded towards religion. Open-minded religion is, it's not important whether you are Buddhist or whether you are Christian or whether you're Muslim, all religions are, so those are kind of issues when people are more broad-minded. So we found that students who are more broad-minded towards religion, they are more broad-minded towards environment. Students who are narrow-minded towards religion, they are also narrow-minded towards environment. So now I will talk to you, what does it mean for journal education? Okay. Any questions on this? Now I will move any questions so far about these studies, but then I will not discuss with you what does it mean for general education, these studies, what is its implication, and that's what I will talk about it. But any questions so far about these studies? Any question? Yeah, go ahead, please. How you define cheating? Cheating assignments, cheating on exams. How frequently they have cheated on exam. Cheating is how frequently they have cheated on tests and how they have cheated on exam. It's like how many times they copied assignments from a friend, how many times they copied assignments from the website, how many times they copied assignment from a student. I will tell you one thing very interesting. When first time I came to Thailand, and I think it was my second year in Thailand, and I had some students with me, and I share with you, not as something negative, but something which helped me learn more about my student. And what I noticed is that there was many students, they took me out, they said, Ajahn, let's go somewhere, and I traveled with them many places in Thailand, and they were so, like, I think you cannot beat the warmth and hospitality of Thai people in my view. So they were so nice. They took me so many places and we go together and we are like friends, we are like family. And because actually that time I came through the first, I think it was my first or second Fulbright. And then I decided that I was the only one actually a little bit starting the program, developing curriculum and teaching them. And they became very close to me before, many of the Thai faculty felt that they wanted, they started teaching. So when we traveled and all, one time I said, why don't I give you assignment and all something? I gave them assignment. When I looked at their assignment I had given them, every assignment was same. And they were different students. Everything was same. I looked at it And I first student, second, third, and I could not believe because I know them so well. They are like my very close friends. How can I be? So I called each of them and I sat down with them, and I was clearly maybe a bit naive because I was very hurt. I said, how could you break my heart? How could you do all this thing? And I will tell you that time I was clearly offended, and a teacher can get offended. But then after that, I thought, after more reflection, I said, you know, people cheat. They may have some reason and different motivation. And then I became interested in this topic of why people cheat, because it was something which motivates it. I feel that research is guided mostly by your own personal inquiry, like English medium instruction. First time I was in Thailand, I sat in a cafe and I noticed most of the people who could speak to me in English were females, not males. Then I started looking at it and said, what is this? And then I started thinking, and I found in the same study, I found that females have high self-efficacy in language. They feel, they like to communicate, they like to talk. Males do not communicate, you know that, right? So because females like to communicate, so language learning is so natural. And so it was not unusual for me to see English language competency of females were much higher than many males. And then it made me more interested in this topic, what is the motivation for language learning? So I think when coming back to your question about how did I assess it, we were interested in different types of cheating behavior, different types of cheating. Cheating assignment, cheating of friend, cheating for smart student. So different types. Yes, Ajay.
May you tell me more what self-report cheating behavior is?
Okay. Now here is the interesting thing is, this is a tricky issue, cheating. How do you know that people have cheated, right? You are asking people to be honest about the dishonesty, right? It's a tricky issue. The point is, cheating is, I think it's a very difficult, and a lot of times people can question the reliance of data. And a lot of times people have self-reported, coming back to your question, Ajahn, is self-reported cheating where it is that students told how much they cheated and when they cheated. So I trust their word on it, that they told us that they cheated, right? Now, some people might say, you're asking students to tell you, right? And they may not be honest about their dishonesty, right? And that is always a question. But I feel that students, if you create the responses anonymous and you explain to them the rationale for some questions and you do not, and the manner in which you get the responses, students may feel very comfortable to tell you why they cheat. In fact, it just depends on the research skills of the researcher, how you collect the data. But even after a collection of data, you can never be 100% sure that every student is responding in an honest manner. But the question is, when you have so many responses, you look for patterns, so it doesn't matter if few of them don't feel comfortable. But the question is, our studies with multiple methods of data collection, like I showed you, different departments, the self-reported cheating behavior, that is true, and people have used different methodologies to collect their data, and results are pretty much same. Just like in Thailand, it's same in US. It's no different. Okay, other questions?
So how many samples did you use for this?
Oh, there were, in cheating studies, there are actually about four different studies. One was with Elisa, and her last name was here. Elisa, she finished her PhD there, and that was her doctoral dissertation, which we did together. Then after that, there was one more study, which came in International Journal of Education Research, I think last year, and that was a different sample. Then there are two more studies we are working on right now, and where we are actually interested in not only in motivation, or values, we are also interested in dispositions. Like some children, some students, like teenagers, they like to drive the car very fast. That's called risk-taking behavior. So I'm interested in knowing, is cheating because people who like to take risks like to drive car very fast, like people sometimes, some people don't like to drive car very fast, some people like to take more risk. Is risk-taking behavior, is risk-taking disposition also related with cheating? And interestingly, males like to take more risk than female. In fact, one of the reasons they feel that females may there are many more rich men than females is because females don't like to take too much risk with their money, and males try to engage in more risky behavior. I don't know. I'm not sure that males risk, so we will know. When we do the study, we collect the data, analyze the results, we will know what is the truth, right? That's why you do research. You do research to know the answer. If you know the answer, why do research, right? There's no reason to do research. And so when I'm working with the doctoral students, I say, you know, what do you want to know, right? What do you want to know? If you want to know it, if you already know it, you don't need to do research. If you want to know it and you feel it's important to know, let's do research, right? That's the whole idea. So, okay. Okay, let me just say, now why is it important? I think why is it important? I feel one of the things I feel these things are important is, let's talk about English medium instruction. Now, we know that in 2002 in Thailand, there were 78 universities offering 446 international program. In 2007, you see 100 universities, more than 727. So I'm sure that this was a little old now. 214, it'll be even more than this. So there are many more English medium programs there. So I think one of the things we find in this study is that students' learning environment, the learning environment is so important, and even it is more important for females than males, we found in a study. Social support, goal orientation, and integrated goal orientation is very important in terms of motivation to learn language. So if you want to emphasize good English language learning environment is not important, but I personally feel English language learning is so much linked with Thai identity issue. What does it mean to be Thai? I feel identity issue is so central to English language issues in Thailand. So, I think the reason Philippines English language learning, people learn English much more is the idea of what does it mean to be Filipino, what does it mean to be American, what does it mean to be Dutch. So identity issue is so central to English language learning, I do feel that. And that's why the real challenge I feel for educators is, how can they support integrated goals in the classroom, more social cultural goals in the classroom. That's the way to go in terms of supporting more English language learning, because in our study we found that socio-cultural goals, if students have socio-cultural goals, that means they want to learn English because they want to be like Madonna or something like that. They have more socio-cultural goals. They have more positive attitudes for English language learning and English medium instruction than learning English just to pass the exam. They don't help much. So using instructional strategy and creating learning environment which is an anxiety-free, where there are more social cultural goals, is an important step in creating, in supporting English language learning. Now, let's look, so this is because in the literature, there is always this debate that should we have instrumental goals or should we have integrated goals? I think integrated goals are also important, but when I look at many of the Thai policy documents, I didn't see so much emphasis on integrated goals, social cultural goals for learning language. Okay, now let's go to the next one. like I talked to you, what is interesting in this second study, which was on STEM education, I found that one of the problems in education is we use a model of where we judge people's a model of competency. We follow a model of competency, which is academic model of competency. And that academic model of competency is based on GPA. It's all driven by GPA. We think about GPA, and you can have different names for it, SAT scores and other things, GPA. So what happened is we are blinded by a model of competency which judge people based on their GPA. But in our study, we felt females have very high GPA. It's not the GPA which matters in terms of as much in terms of what they want to be, whether they choose STEM. So academic model of competency based on GPA, all the research in US has shown has become outdated, is obsolete. The model of GPA, the social model of competency based on self-concept, cultural belief, and your attitudes is probably a better predictor of your aspiration, who you want to be, and your ultimate success in life. So I think we have to move away from GPA-based model of competency. We have to think more in terms of, in my view, about a social model of competency, which is more shaped by personal attitudes and cultural beliefs. If we want to engage more, create more parity, more equity in STEM fields, more equity in STEM fields. And I think equity in STEM fields, in my view, is so critical. Even in UK, 25% of females only aspire to be engineers. Think about it. You have almost, and in Thailand, 58% of the students who graduate from college are females. 58.2, I think. So you have 58.2 and only 25% of the final engineers are actually female. So we have to start thinking a little bit differently about what STEM education should be and what kind of model. So it's important. So self-concept research and self-concept research, which I'm talking about, attitude, belief, self-concept, this research is really throwing new light into how we should tackling this. So it's not about GPA at all right? All right. That's why I think some of this research with PSSA, it doesn't do much justice because it doesn't tell us anything. By ranking countries, this country is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. It shifts the focus. The focus, I think, in my view, some of the areas of inequities are here, which are much more to do with the self-concept and self-efficacy, which is based on Dr. Thanita's work. Okay. Okay. Now, when I think about even cheating, I think about one of the important thing which I find is really critical is the issue of critical thinking disposition. Now, this is very interesting we found, and this is based on Chanel's work. We found that the students who were on first year in undergraduate program, general education and other programs in a Thai university, and students who were in the final, there was no difference in their critical thinking disposition. That means after studying for 3-4 years in the university, there was no change in critical thinking disposition. Now that's really amazing, that after 4 years of coursework, their journal, and the idea of liberal education and general education is about well-rounded, different outlook. No change. So we found that students who were in the first year and students in the final year, their critical thinking disposition, there was no difference. So it means that there is something we are maybe not doing right? So maybe more needs to be done. And I think not only you are not alone on it, I mean, even in US, it's the similar issues, right? So the idea is that, I think this was very interesting, that no differences. Our study did not find any evidence to support the idea that critical thinking disposition of college students was modified by educational environment at higher education level in Thailand. There was no evidence for that. Okay. Now, I was talking to you about them. This is very interesting. I personally find it very interesting. There was a study done in US by Institute of Ethics, and they found that in 1968, the students who wanted to be rich and have a lot of money, when they asked you, what do you want in life? In 1968, they asked them, in US. They said they want to be very rich and affluent. It increased from 1968 to 2000 from 41% to 73%. So there is a major change in American values from 68 to 2000. The students, when the same people were asked, students were asked, what else? The idea of meaningful philosophy in life, meaningful philosophy, decreased from 83 to 42%. So you can see from 68 to 2000, there is a big increase in materialistic value orientation. And this is very consistent with, I don't know any study in Thailand which has actually examined, but maybe there is, where they follow the value change in Thai society in last 10 years or 20 years. But this is a very interesting study. It tells you that all these things about cheating and how they are shaped by the values we are adopting and we are supporting in our society. Okay. So, now this is very interesting. In Thailand, now think about it. We found that, and this is a study which I actually completed, I think this was in 2011, this study, and we found that students, high school students, now this is high school student, not college, high school student, students who want to join a business program are more likely to cheat. They have not in business, they are still in school. If you ask them, what do you want to be in life? Do you want to be, and they choose anything. They say to you, I want to be an accountant, I want to be in business, I want to be a scientist, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor. Students who we try to find students in high cheating clusters and low cheating clusters, and we found that, just a moment, we found that students who want to be doctor, they are not, we found that students, this is the PowerPoint is better. We divided students in two different clusters. One, high cheating clusters, which we call high willingness to cheat cluster. Second, low cheating cluster. We found students who want to be teachers, nurses, doctors, pharmacists are in low cheating clusters. Students who want to be business and accountant, they are in high cheating cluster. So if you ask them in the college. So it tells you that before even these students come in your university, it's nothing with the university environment. They bring their values, goals, attitude, disposition to your classroom, and those shape their willingness to cheat and their cheating behavior. Now this I thought is very interesting because in US, many people feel why students in business cheat more than students in humanities, and some people say maybe the environment in business colleges in US makes them cheat more. But I think maybe a little bit, but I think students already, before they are in the high school, who they want to be, their identity with the profession is linked to their attitude towards cheating. So they fall more. And so students who want to be business and accountants. Now it's interesting. Males who want to be, now there's another thing. Males who want to be, boys who want to be lawyers, okay, they want to be in legal profession, they are more likely to cheat. They have high willingness to cheat. Females who want to be lawyer are less likely to cheat. It seems to me females who join legal profession, they join for different reasons than males. When high school males think about joining a legal profession, they think about maybe making more money. When female join the legal profession, they think about, I want to do something and fight for social equity. So their attitude and disposition are related to their cheating behavior. It's very interesting, some of these things. So, okay. So my point is, professional aspiration is related to what the cheating behavior. And I think this is important because we know that cheating behavior in medical college is a predictor of unethical medical practices, which is what Ajahn was earlier talking about when we were discussing about medical practices. Business students who are going to cheat in the colleges, they are going to cheat more at workplace. Accountants, we know that when students are trained to be accountants, they're more likely to cheat later. So cheating is very much shaped by this. Okay, the last one, and I will stop after, well, I still have, okay. Okay, we also found that very interesting thing is that I feel that one of the studies in terms of environment, we feel that, I think that this study really clearly shows that students' attitude towards environment are also related to their attitudes toward religion. Students who are more broad-minded, open-minded about science, about environment, are more open-minded about religion. So it seems to me that open-mindedness is a habit of mind, which is in some ways has nothing to do with science, math, or physics. It's a general outlook. So it seems to me that when we think about scientific open-mindedness in teaching science, then it is not just about science, it's about general outlook. All right, it's about general outlook. So I think we should, it's not about, it's across the domain, it's more interdisciplinary. And students who believe in authority in science classroom, they will believe in authority in math classrooms. That's the point. This issue is very important, science religion in US, because there is a lot of science religion conflict in US. Okay. So my point is that what I have talked about in this slide is that when we think about English medium instruction and intercultural competency, socio-cultural goals, some can mark. This is what our study showed. Socio-cultural goals are very important. When we think about STEM education, intrinsic motivation and ability beliefs about your ability or ability of people, they are very important. So it's interesting. So when I started as a physics teacher first time, I used to always think about their grade. What did they get? Oh, this student is better. This student is not as good. Maybe I have 10 students. One is the top, one is this. Now I don't think about that. I think about their attitudes and values and their beliefs, because I know it's ultimately their self-concept which is going to shape who they want to be and who they can be. So intrinsic motivation, ability wheels are very important. Our study shows that thinking dispositions are very important part of critical thinking, are very important. And motivational goals are very important in supporting critical thinking disposition. Our finding study shows that lifestyle values are very important. The values students bring to the classroom, they are very important in terms of their ethics we are talking about. Religious outlook of the students. So basically all these studies shows us that when we think about 21st century general education reform, we need to think about again these issues of goals students bring to the classroom, issues of motivation, ability beliefs, issues of disposition, issues of lifestyle values, and issues of outlook. because these shape the adoption of these curricular innovation. This is very important part of, and all these studies show this. Okay, question.
Does anybody have a question? We can take 5 minutes for the question and answer now.
Yes, yes.
Does anybody want to have a question? Or we are already hungry?
Okay. 1 minute. So, I think what I want to say is after that, if you don't have any question, what I will do after this is that after we have lunch, I will go into now the models of general education. After that, I will talk about the models of general education. Now, I have discussed with you that these things shape the adoption of general education reforms. Now, what I will do is I will talk about models. I will talk to you about what are the different models being used in US about general education, different models. And then I will share with you some of the issues of Penn State educational reform. What are the issues coming? And I will discuss with you issues Penn State is dealing with, struggling with, are very similar issues which are highlighted in maybe in Thai universities. So I will talk to you different models. I will talk to you about cafeteria model, open model, and core model of general education. And after the break.